computer. Yeah, I'm recording it now. So just so you know, everybody, now we're recording. So it's very good that Kieran has his microphone muted.
Well done, Kieran.
Right. Right, let's start then.
So we've just watched.
Okay. Hello and welcome everyone who's joining us for this Q&A session. If like us, you couldn't wait to watch it, thank you for joining us and you want to know more about Snow Queen. And if you haven't watched it yet, then great, let us tell you all about it. So I'll obviously start with Alex Byrne first. So he's the director of the Snow Queen.
Just plugging in my computer.
Plugging in his laptop. So I'm
so
joined with Alex Byrne, director, and almost all of the cast of the Snow Queen, and I'm the producer for NIE. And we'll start with Alex Byrne just to talk to us about why he chose the Snow Queen and how this experience has been different from making a film rather than a theatre piece.
Oh yes, okay, Emily. Yeah, we were thinking about the Snow Queen as a family Christmas show before we were thinking about it as a family kind of digital film thing, and we were thinking about it as a really great new project to do as a family show, with the partners that we've worked with sometimes in the past, Cambridge Junction and Tobacco Factory in Bristol, and then we've played in some other places. So it sort of became clear over the summer and into the autumn that it wasn't going to be really viable to do a live show. At least, some people are managing to do some live stuff or stream stuff live, but we, in the end, decided to focus on, let's make a really nice digital offer and think about how to do that. So, in a way, the choice was sort of forced upon us, and I think that the story has loads of things that I really like. It has a really strong female protagonist who goes on an amazing journey. It has a whole collection of sort of crazy characters in different worlds that she visits. And those are things I think that speak really well to some of the sort of kinds of things that NIE has made in the past. I love the sort of fairy tale of stepping into the different worlds that she visits and that we managed to make, I think, in the show really well. And I think I really like the idea of a young woman or a girl sort of taking on a big adventure and coming to the end, fighting her way through to the end of it, and being the hero of her own story. That appeals to me a lot. So that was why, something for me about why the choice. And then of course it's massively different to do it as a digital kind of film kind of offer. And I had a really great conversation with Matt Berman from the Junction, who was one of the commissioning partners, who sort of said, lots of people are filming theatre at the moment and sharing it digitally. Could you think about using location as well? So have something that's in the theatre and then uses a place or goes to places, because that's the thing that sort of in a way we've missed this year, being transported to different places. So, and people being stuck indoors and not going outdoors and so on. So that was really inspiring. And then really happily, I remembered going to Steffi, who's just in this Zoom, is just below me. I remember going to her wedding anniversary. Was it 25 years, Steffi? It's 25 years wedding anniversary at a beautiful place just outside Cambridge. It's near a place called the interestingly named Shinge Cum Wendy, which is sort of in between, Richard's just laughing there, sort of in between Cambridge and Royston. And there's a little bit of really magical woodlands there where somebody, Dr. Gareth, has built a collection and many other people, I suppose, have built a sort of collection of places and sort of outdoor spaces, sort of outdoor indoor spaces where people go and do workshops, or they go and have little parties, or they go and have go camping and so on. And then we managed to work out that we would be able to use it, and that was really what framed the whole project then for me, thinking about that kind of bit of magical woodland and what we could do there. I hadn't really calculated with it being 1 degree or raining, or there being no electricity and sort of running water, and no plumbed in toilets, and I hadn't planned on Dean getting his van stuck in the mud. When I went there to myself to do a little bit of recording and some photography, and thought, yeah, this could be really great, and I hope that you liked seeing that place in the movie. We enjoyed some of our time there, much of our time there. And some moments, as Steffi pointed out, were relatively freezing cold.
Great. So following on from that, Natisha, what was it like to be on set? How did you cope with the cold? I think you had some ingenious ways, didn't you?
Yeah, it was so cold. It was freezing, but there was blankets that helped, and there was also a hot water bottle on deck, and I always had it just like under my poncho to keep me warm, so nobody could see it. And a lot of the times, I had to kind of hide it. I thought I could like kind of get away with using it in the shop, but I had to be truthful. And Steve also saw the hot water bottle, so I had to get rid of it a lot of the time. But yeah, we had hand warmers as well that I would stick everywhere to keep me warm. My feet, in my at the back of my neck, in the gloves. But you warm up as well. So once you keep moving, it was fine. But it was really, really cold.
Great. And so I guess like one of the things that we kind of kept as Spirit of NIE is that we all played loads of different characters. So Alex Murdoch, do you want to talk about maybe one of the characters that you played and what your favourite moment of that character was?
Okay. Yeah. Well, we all play lots of different characters. I think I'm a crow at one point, and a strange ogre called Maureen. I suppose my favourite character is the robber girl because she's a bit nuts, and it was just fun to mess around in the forest. And it was an interesting thing going from how we make theatre to film with that. So when we rehearsed it in the room, it was very, very big and physical. And then when we put it in a little location on the set, we sort of tried to make that crazy character much smaller. And it didn't work as well. So we had to kind of find a hybrid of theatre thinking and film thinking. But yeah, I love that character. She's very troubled. And but she has a lot of heart as well underneath. And she goes on a very quick journey of learning what friendship is, which I suppose is the point of the whole story for Gerda and Kai.
Great. And I don't know, so Yomi, do you want to talk a little bit about who the ogres are in this piece? Because they're a little bit unique, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, the ogres, yeah, they're absolutely unique. So they talk about the story of like having this mirror, and basically what they've done is like a mirror that will basically, when you look into it, it will turn you ugly. You'll only see the ugly features of like yourself. And what they were doing, well, what their plan was to basically when Snow King first came to meet them, she obviously needed help because she was looking for a friend Kai, and then they were explaining the story of how like this mirror was created and how the ogres went up to the heavens because they wanted to mock them, and then the mirror slipped from their hand and it shattered into 1,000 pieces, and it went into like people's eyes and hearts. But they're very sort of groggy, weird like ogres who pretty much most of their time just like play like chess, and they just do a lot of like they're just like really weird like looking sort of like ogres. And they pretty much in a way help Snow Queen on her journey to sort of help her direct her way to find Kai.
And do you think your character ever learned how to play chess? Because I think he was very confused at the beginning, wasn't he?
Well, I think eventually, maybe in the next couple of years, he will eventually know how to play chess.
Great. And I think what's really great about this show is that the music is such a big part and really helps join the flow. And Jerry, I don't know if you want us to talk a little bit about the process of what this has been like. I know for you, you've said it's been quite a big venture. So if you just want to talk a little bit about, how it started from August, messing around to how you've made this beautiful piece that joins all these parts together.
Yeah, it's been an amazing process, actually. Very different to make a theatre show. We approached it, as everyone said, we kind of approached it as a theatre show, which was brilliant, kind of devising music as a company and kind of writing songs together. But then the process of then also putting it to film was kind of a real steep learning curve in terms of, having certain bits ready so that we can perform them on set. So, for example, there's a few different music videos in the film, and of course we had to have those songs ready and recorded before we even shot them so that we could kind of lip sync to them on set. And so that was a kind of, you know, when you do a show, you'd go through the rehearsal process and you'd rehearse the songs, you'd rehearse the other music, and you just get better and better at it as the rehearsals go through. And then you have the shows as well. And during that process, everything just gets tighter and more finesse. While with this, you know, it has to be like, it needs to be ready now. So that was a big kind of like, whoa, okay, cool. But it was so much fun to be able to do that and then have those songs and perform them on set, even in the cold, in our weird and wonderful costumes. And then it's the kind of stitch together of all the underscoring through it. So there's the kind of, that's another big kind of process I've gone through. You know, you get the edit through, and then you can start actually crafting all the kind of underscore moments and stitching together that kind of characterful and emotional arc through the story. So yeah, no, it's been great, and it's been very, you know, NIE true style. Everyone's playing all the music, so all the tracks you hear, all the songs, is all the cast playing on them. Ukuleles, pianos, trombones, you name it, everyone's playing, bass, cello, singing. So yeah, that's been kind of a really wonderful part of the whole process, as ever with all NIE shows. And it's still got that, you know, all the music is still has that heart, I think. So yeah, it's been really fun. And from August, when we were first kind of R&Ding, so much of that music into the film. And so it was such a valuable week that we did, and we created so much material that then went forward, and I then developed for, and it was a real kind of lovely base place to start from. And then we came back to rehearsing in November and had a lot of material, and then from that obviously made even more. But yeah, it's been great. A challenge though.
Challenge, yeah.
A good challenge.
And Richard, did you have a favourite song that you played, or a favourite instrument part, or what do you think?
I don't know. That's quite a tricky one. It's all great, and like Joe said, it all sort of kind of adapted. So a lot of the music kind of came out in August, which was brilliant, and just got slightly adapted to make it more filmic or more kind of appropriate for what we ended up making. But I quite liked. I think other people might have agreed with me. I quite liked the River Blues bit that we were sort of, because it's quite nice, because it slows everything down a bit. It's like a bit like all NIE shows. There's a lot of freneticism. There's quite a lot of kind of, sorry, Alex, but it's quite high energy, and obviously the River Blues bit is to an animation, so it's obviously going to be less high energy anyway. But there's just this sort of laziness to the music. It's like a kind of Southern American band just sort of chewing some straw and sitting by a river, just waiting and waiting and waiting, nothing to do. And it was just really kind of calming, beautiful bit to play. So I think that was my favourite bit. But to be honest, all of it was great.
And
over
the end, Joey, it sits over the end credits, doesn't it?
It does, yes. You've got a bit of the end credits. The more high octane bit of that sits at the beginning, but then it goes back to the flowy kind of Louisiana. Yeah. No, again, well, Richard's playing guitar on that tune, so you can hear him soloing very nicely.
That was the best bit.
It sounds
just bending a string at the end until it got cruelly cut off.
Yeah, exactly. Great fun.
And so, Sefri, I'm going to come to you. So you designed the costumes and set for this. I mean, I know a lot of the sets were great, wasn't it? Because it was just already there in the woods. So how did you approach it, you know, this time, you know, being on film rather than in theatre?
Well, as Alex already said, and as you just mentioned, it was very lucky to have that site of Gareth and Philippa's in the woods, because there were so many little corners that we can easily transform into what actually is needed for the story. So there's a sauna, there's a like a robber's den, there's a kitchen, it's just quite magical in itself. And on top of that, there's woods. So a lot of locations were already there. I think what was very different in terms of planning ahead, as in usually you have a clear concept, which not to say we didn't have a clear concept, but in terms of costuming, you start to be a bit limited because there was COVID as well on top of everything. So you can't actually go out and just buy things. So you also open up your cupboard and see what you've got. And then we started having just a lot of fun. I felt like it was a lot of fun to just dive into a big dressing up fest in that sense, with what there is, and finding a few bits and pieces on eBay, just stuff that we know we will need to have. And it's just in that sense a different approach, because everything has to be a bit fast and get this and organize that all within a limited amount of time, because for a long time, because of this COVID situation, we didn't know exactly which direction we're going to go. Is it going to be half-life? Is it going to be only on film, digital, etc.? So yeah, so by the time we actually come together, it had to be a very fast turnaround of producing things and making things happen and making things up. And then you might decorate a corner because you think like that's what it's going to be used, but then the camera points in a different direction. So
yeah,
and you have to say, okay, fine. So yeah, you're less in charge.
And what was your favorite costumes in the end, would you say?
I think what I really loved, coming back to that big dressing up fest, it was like the chorus of the ogre chorus. I really enjoyed, within half an hour, telling everyone, look, there's a box of makeup here, and make a suggestion, grab what you want, have as much fun as possible. I've got a few ears and stupid things to add to it, but let's go for it. And then everyone being massively, brilliantly creative, coming back with all sorts of suggestions that only needed a bit of tweaking here and tweaking there. I think that was my best.
Yes.
My favorite moment. It was just beautiful to see everyone creating these brilliant costumes. I really enjoyed that. And having fun with literally grown up dressing up with makeup and all sorts. Yeah.
Great. So Kieran, last person. Do you want to talk about, I don't know, maybe one of the robbers and who they are, and what maybe your favourite line was during making the show?
The robbers were a gang of robbers, really, like bandits that lived out in the woods, who sort of robbed and pilgrim, anything they could get their hands on, they would take. And unfortunately, on that afternoon, they caught a little girl, which took a couple of the robbers by surprise. And the robber chief, being the sort of mother of all the robbers, I won't go into the family tree, but we decided to maybe cook Goethes, but they're a funny, kind bunch, and I think actually Alex's character of the robber girl sort of really sums them up. They're a little bit goofy. They're a little bit sort of they're sort of, well, I'm trying to put this in a nice way, really. They're lovely people at heart, and they sort of are led by this sort of young girl who makes all the shots. So they were a lot of fun to play. Good ensemble work to sort of be with everybody. My favourite line. I'd say my favourite line actually wasn't my own. It was one of Alex's lines when she offered Gerda to play with her cuddly toy Stephen. I mean, that was one of my favourite lines. I don't know why it tickled me. I think it was just beautifully delivered. But no, they're a real good bunch to play. I quite liked the introduction to the robbers, where I could pop up into the camera and sort of introduce myself. I thought that was a nice way of setting up those characters. So yeah, they were a lot of fun to play. And the fake teeth.
Which gives you a sort of slight lisp, Kieran, in the film.
Well, I thought I'd play it a little bit. Well, my inspiration was sort of like Will Young / Barry from down the street. and I just mix them together really.
There's a way
But
you say cloves. Say cloves.
I can say cloves, but if I have a fake tooth in, it's clothes. So I was the only one who had the problem.
There's an amazing appearance, a cameo appearance in that sequence from Robber Granny, who none of you will really have seen properly. I mean, you'll have seen her on set, but you won't know quite what's. I don't know. You'll vouch for this, Joey. Robber Granny's cameo is a brief flash of her, but she is strong.
She's very strong.
But the hours that Steph put into that character was just phenomenal.
There's depth there. Yeah. There's complexity and a certain horror. She's special.
I'm much more refined than the rest of my family. I don't know why I'm much posher than everyone else.
And Joey, why are you wearing a plaster on your chin in the Robbers?
I thought that was a real injury.
We wanted to have loads of plasters, and it ended up with one that we were going to play the fact that he was the robber got beaten up all the time. He's got no eye.
What I enjoyed.
Instead, I've just got one. It's very naturalistic.
What I really enjoyed about when we had the sort of bigger ensemble pieces, which I was predominantly in, was that the last person who would come to set obviously had the most time in the costume cupboard and would just come completely nuts. You had the first few people who needed to do had to stand to get focus for the camera, and they would just be in costume. The last person that would have plasters over their eyes, on their chin, they'd have their hairs in ponytails, tattoos on their faces. So the longer that people had in that room, the more crazy the character seemed to be. And I'd turn around and Joey would just be at the back, sort of so wacky, going, "Oh, there he is." So,
yeah, so much time.
Steffi should have locked that door. Yeah.
So, Alex, Byrne, do you want to try and sum up what this whole experience has been like, or what the whole film is like in, I don't know, 2 or 3 sentences, or how would you sum it up for everybody?
Oh well, I mean, it was an amazing thing to do, and it's sort of interesting to be sort of at least to find yourself in this position where we wanted to make something, we wanted to share something, and to try to invent a way of doing that. I mean, actually, one of the clearest things is just to have. I start to just to watch some things on TV or watch other films that other people have made, and you realise the enormous complexity of it and the enormous sort of technical detail of it. And actually, I don't know and there's no other way to sum it up right now than to say thank you so much to Steve and Christian and Dean and all of the people that you don't see in the shot who were there. It's also funny, you see like moments in it where there's somebody sort of standing alone saying something sort of personal or private, or a little moment for the character, and you just remember that there are 6 people standing around them, and Jay, who's actually in it, but the whole, and Emily, all the people who are down there on the set, that's just absolute respect for them and for the sort of technicality of what they do, which is amazing.
Great. And does everybody, we can go one by one, just have one word of how you would describe the Snow Queen before we sign off. So Alex Murdoch, you can start.
Crazy.
Richard?
Magical.
Yomi?
Exciting.
Natisha?
Bonkers.
Jerry?
Touching.
Kieran?
Glamorous. There you go, Stefan.
Nuts.
Great.
Okay.
I'm with Natisha, bonkers.
Great. Well, thank you for everyone who has joined us on this Q&A. We'll sign off now, but from everyone from the NIE in Cambridge Junction, we just want to wish you all a huge Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So, bye.
Merry Christmas!
Bye.
Merry Christmas!
Bye.